Inclusion begins with recreation because people come out and play together and they learn that people with disabilities are just like everybody else. So I said it gives me faith in the world that there's really great people out there that want to make a difference and want this world to be better.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Missions That Made Them. I am your host, Jason Verdelli, and this isn't just a podcast, but rather it's a movement. It's a movement designed to make the world a better place by bringing more awareness of the great work of the people and organizations making a difference, and more importantly, how you can help. We live in a world today surrounded by a narrative in the media that focuses in on the negativity and draws attention to the problems, but not the solutions. Our guests represent the solutions, not the problems. And with that, I am super excited to introduce our guest today, Larae Gusak, and from SportsAbility, and what the work that SportsAbility Alliance does is just incredible. And I'm super excited to have you on here, Lori, and to hear your story, to hear what you're about, who you're impacting, and I know you've had a lot of great changes over the past year in your the reach and who you're able to serve. So welcome on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is really exciting. I've been involved with this organization 20 years as staff and a couple years before it, and it never gets old. And I just still love our mission and I love what we're doing. And it just takes the effort of a lot of different people. We have tons of volunteers and that just get excited when they come out to things we're doing.
That's awesome. And, the mission, can you go into a little bit of the mission of SportsAbility Alliance?
Sure. Our stated mission is to enrich lives through accessible, inclusive recreation and active leisure. And what that means is we include everybody in all our programs because we believe that people with and without disabilities should all recreate together. And, one person might need a little bit of adaptive equipment to do that, or maybe just somebody to explain it a little bit differently to them. But we can all participate and learn together. And I think that we've seen over the years that inclusion begins with recreation because people come out and play together and they learn that people with disabilities are just like everybody else. And then that leads to inclusion in jobs and everything else. So.
Exactly. And I just think it's really awesome what you're doing for, again, the disabled community in serving them, giving them the opportunities to be a part of all these recreational activities, which is important, especially in getting out and staying active. So, Lori, always excited to understand, sort of how you got to where you're at, right? Why SportsAbility Alliance? I know you've been there quite a while, but what drew you to the SportsAbility Alliance?
Yeah, I was supposed to come out as a volunteer for about an hour with my kayak club for 22 years ago, and I just met the most incredible people. And I can remember talking to a mom who was almost brought to tears when she saw her two boys being able to play tennis together. One used a wheelchair and one didn't, but all of a sudden she just saw the big picture, like, my son's going to be okay. And I was just so moved that I just kept coming back. And next thing you know, I was driving to Jacksonville and driving to other places just to volunteer with them. And then I called the founder, and they didn't have any staff at that point. It was just truly a volunteer organization, and talked about ways that we can bring on staff and that maybe I could work with them. I had already been in not-for-profit management for years, but this was just close to my heart. So yeah, that's how I got involved.
Yeah. So you made the move, and you've what's the experience been like since you joined on?
Oh my goodness, it's changed so much. When we first started, I was part-time because they had no money. And, so I was making about $1,000 a month and putting in, I don't know how many thousands of dollars hours, right. But I started a not-for-profit management company so that way I could pay the bills, but then was doing this for my heart. And then little by little, as we got more funds coming in, then we could, I was able to go full time. And that really brought us to a whole nother level where, if you can only work on something part time, you can't take on as many projects. So we were really able to grow what we were doing and take, when this organization started in 1990, 32 years ago, the first thing they did was a really small sit water ski clinic. Now that has really blossomed and it grew to multi-day events. And now we're taking that all over Florida and beyond. And then we also, with the pandemic, started doing things virtually and then virtual reality. And then we just learned so much with the pandemic on how we could do things and access people from all over the place. So, I mean, we've had events, including we did one event called Danceability, where I had a past intern who had graduated and moved on. He was in France. And so he was DJing from France. And then we had people from France to California on dancing on screen, some in wheelchair, another one with a walker, one woman dancing with a bunny. I mean, and we had I think we had like 70 different people dancing all together in this virtual danceability. So, we've tried to be creative and come up with ways where everybody can participate.
Yeah, I think that's so cool too that you're taking it beyond just the physical. Right now, you're getting into virtual reality and what's that virtual reality? I'm just curious, being kind of a tech nerd myself. What does that experience look like?
Well, since I'm a lot older than you, Jason, I thought when we got started that this would just be a really cool game kind of thing that people would get into. And I joked that the last video game I played was Ms. Pac-Man. So, it's been a while, but it is so much more than that. Just the area itself of SportsAbility Park is about a mile. So it's all kinds of places that you can explore. And we've put things in the park that are conversation starters. You can go in there and get a snowball fight, or you can go by the campfire and light a marshmallow, or you can rock climb. There's all kinds of things to do. We've got an animal park. But I've met people from all over the world. I've gotten in conversations with people from Australia, and they want to know, why is there this wheelchair in here? And it leads to conversations about what is possible for people of all abilities. And it's also led to people doing things that are in-person events. I talked to one gentleman who was originally from South America, moved to Miami, and had gotten on just to practice his English. So I was practicing my Spanish, and we started talking, and he ended up going to an event we were doing in Fort Lauderdale. So it's just kind of neat how these things come about. We've even done fitness classes in virtual reality, and you see all these little avatars moving their arms and everything. So it's been fun.
Yeah, and it's just neat though that you're taking it again just beyond that, again beyond the physical side, and making it entertaining too. Tell me about some of the events you do, though. I'm curious about. You mentioned like the dance-a-thon and some of those things.
Yeah, well, right now we're getting ready for our big SportsAbility Expo. So we had to change things a little bit with the pandemic. We used to do these events that had about 1,200 people, and with the pandemic, it's still probably not safe to bring 1,200 people together. Some of which are indoor. So what we decided we would do is we would do these smaller events around the state, and people register in advance. So we've got everything from fishing events on the shore, fishing events in boats, horseback riding, sit water skiing, kayaking, just about anything you could think of. We're doing horseback riding in Ocala. We're doing kayaking, fishing, boating, and something else in Miami. I can't remember. But anyways, other things in Miami, archery in Ocala, archery in Tallahassee, fishing in Tallahassee. So just things all over. And we keep adding more of these in-person events. And it's a great way for people to find resources in their community that they don't know about, that are open to people of all abilities, and have resources for people of all abilities to be able to do it. They have adaptive equipment, like the water skiing. they're in Central Florida, but they travel, but people can find out how to do that. So we've got all these different in-person things that we're going to be doing from March till at least May and beyond. And then, we'll continue to do that. We also have a virtual conference that we're doing, and people can access it from anywhere in the world. We'll have education sessions on everything from adaptive scuba, on how you can do scuba with all kinds of different abilities, to adaptive biking, to just resources in the schools, all kinds of things like that. And then we have exhibitors and on a whole trade show where people can learn about resources for people of all abilities. And they can make appointments virtually with our resource providers, everything from people that help assist with jobs. So it's not just recreation, it's all kinds of services for people of all abilities.
Yeah. So that's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot. And to be honest with you, Jason, right now we've got one staff person, me, and a part-time person. And if we have more resources, we could have more people doing that. But, we're trying to do the best we can. My great grandmother, I joke, she used to say, because I asked her how she made it in the Depression, and she said, well, honey, I was a take of the yeast, I put it on the money, and I was a stretch. So that's what we try and do, and stretch the money and make it go as far as we can to provide services, because for our folks, cost is a constraint, and it's hard. So we try and make it so all these events for our participants are free so they could come. So we don't want anybody ever saying they can't participate because they didn't have the funds to do it. So, thank goodness for our sponsors that, come in and help with this.
So if you're a sponsor or a potential sponsor looking and saying, hey, this is us, right? We're 100% behind you. What does that look like for them? How do you incorporate your sponsors into supporting all of these different events that you do virtually and in person?
Right. Well, we try and incorporate our sponsors into everything we do. And we have different levels, to make it, for what might be affordable for a particular organization, but we have different levels of recognition and different ways of reaching our participants. Everything from the exhibitor that can go in and just put all their information in, maybe make appointments with families, to a major sponsor where we would give more recognition. We put their information out on social media. We do interviews with them so that we can post and put out on social media. We have a database of about 19,000 people in Florida, and we can do mailings with their information, and we can do emails if they want to reach people that of all abilities. So we have a variety of ways, and we're always open to doing custom things. I've had people come to me that have this idea that, of how they want to reach our folks, and we're open to anything. The good thing about being small is that we can make decisions and say, yes, we want to do that, and we can change stuff around or do it. We've done special events for people. They want to do a tennis thing and they want it sponsored by them or whatever it may be. So, we do trainings on inclusion, for our sponsors, virtually and in person, all kinds of things.
Man, that's just, I can't believe how you do all of that. For the size staff that you have. The volunteers obviously help and everything else, but what's it look like for volunteers? I mean, how do, if somebody really, they see this and how do I get involved outside of just the financial part?
Right. Yeah, we've had everything from people that want to do some virtual stuff, and we've had students that want to do virtual things, and they do videos for us that they research a specific thing, like a specific recreation thing that they're interested in, and find out how to adapt all that, and then they record a little video at this is how you would do this. And, it's very natural. And we post those on our social media. So we have, we have a listing on that we can put people in touch with that want to do virtual volunteering, all different kinds of things. They can write articles, all just different things virtually. And then in person, everything from, going and helping out with an archery event that we're doing, or coming out to the baseball and working with folks. So all kinds of different opportunities. I mean,
You
really,
got two of my
we
you got two of
depend
my
on our
sports right there.
volunteers. Yeah. I'm
I'd be a
sorry.
volunteer for those two you just mentioned right there, archery and baseball. Both, archery is my current thing that I'm
Yeah.
doing. Baseball was sort of my pastime. So, but that's awesome though. So like
Yeah,
anybody,
that's how I got involved all those years ago. Was I came out to an event as a paddler. I was into kayaking, and I didn't know anything about working with people with disabilities or helping people transfer from their wheelchair into a kayak or how to do that. But I just came out, and you learn that people with disabilities are just like anybody else, and you ask, what can you do and how do you need help, and what can we do to assist? And there's always, of course, lead volunteers that know how to do this and can help. So, yeah.
right. Yeah, it's now the volunteers, if they want to learn about, say I'm a volunteer and or I want to volunteer, want to help, and that, how do they go about doing that? Is it on the website, or
Yeah,
where can
I
they?
would suggest that they just email info@sportsability.org. And if they can do that, we'll put them in, and just let us know, like, I want to do virtual. I want to, I live in this area and this is what I want to do in person or whatever it might be. So,
yeah, that's it. Easy enough, right?
yeah, we're trying to, it's sometimes hard to catch me by phone. So I say if people can, or send us a Facebook message, whatever it might be, but, get on our social media and see what we've got going on. We post pretty regularly. So, and we've got, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, the variety of things, and people can go on and see what we've got going on to see what they might be interested in working on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And what's really cool about that is that you can also, if you're interested in, say, archery, or you have, these different skills that you've acquired through the years that you continue to improve on personally, but now you have a chance to give that to somebody else, right? Somebody else who may not have the same opportunity that you did. When I was a kid, I was lucky. I had, I kind of grew up learning about the outdoors and grew up learning about baseball and getting excited about that. And you tend to get better at those things that you're excited about and passionate about. But sometimes what you're doing at SportsAbility Alliance, as I see it, is you're exposing them to things that they might like. They have things they haven't even tried yet, right?
Right. Yeah. The great thing is all our stuff is open for everybody. I've had like a mom call me and say, well, my one son has a disability, but I have to figure out how to get a babysitter for the other one. And I'm like, no, just bring everybody. What fun is that for one kid to be sitting there watching, So everybody learns and volunteers learn and we all learn together. We play, we've got our Miracle Field. It's got a rubber surface. So we play every week. We're out there, and the sport changes by season. Tomorrow we start up with baseball again, but because it's got a rubberized surface, everybody can play, and we don't keep score. And some of our folks are super competitive and like great athletes and could play against anyone. And some of them are, need help and, maybe they can't hit the ball or they need somebody to hit for them and they want to just, go around the bases, but everybody's different. I mean, my son's come out there with me since he was a kid and since their surface is rubberized, he wants to play on his rollerblades. So he hits the ball and takes the field on rollerblades because he needs to make it more challenging. So, and our thing is just as long as everybody's having fun. And I think that's the thing for our volunteers too. I mean, I don't think I would have been coming back if I wasn't having fun as a volunteer. Our volunteers are having a blast. So
yeah, it just seems such like a good thing. I mean, it seems like fun. I mean, something to do, right?
Yeah.
Throughout this pandemic, it's been, at least when it first happened, we were just, we're just dying to get outside, right? Just to do something.
Right.
And we all of a sudden appreciated all these things that maybe before we took for granted. And now you have the opportunity to get out, but also to, within the SportsAbility Alliance, you have the ability to get that great feeling, right? The great feeling of, teaching somebody how to shoot a bow, right? Like, I mean, I think that would be just awesome to there's nothing better to feel. There's no better feeling than getting that bullseye, right? So it's weird,
Right.
small little thing, but
Right.
man, it's something to be able to pass along, which is awesome.
Well, it's
So
kind of like a
yeah,
family. And we've had volunteers that have come out and they just keep coming out, and they met another volunteer, and we had two of our key volunteers get married. So,
oh, wow.
so it's kind of neat to see, people with good hearts come out and they meet other nice people, and so
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe not promote it like that, but it's definitely a possibility. I'm not sure sure how we would,
yeah, it just happened.
you know.
It wasn't on the list of positives for the volunteers, but yeah.
No, but you could put a small little disclaimer down the
Yeah.
bottom that says, like, it could be, this may happen. Here are the things that may happen. Here's what's going to
Well, here are the
happen.
things that will
Here's
happen.
what
You
may
will
happen.
have fun,
Yeah.
Yeah, you will learn something, and yes.
You might get married in the process. You might, we don't know.
We don't know.
You
Yeah, we
you
can't
know.
tell, but yeah, you will have fun. So,
But
but
that's just what's really cool is that it's just you're bringing everybody together. You really are helping people that don't have again the same abilities to do do these things, right? Or maybe to access some of these things, and it's really
or
awesome that you
some
guys
of
are
it's,
bringing it together.
they may not have felt welcome someplace else,
Right.
and that happens. It just does. I mean, and then we see all these beautiful success stories. I had one young woman who uses a walker come out, and at the beginning of the season, we thought she was nonverbal, and she never
Mm.
said a word. And I think it was just she just was shy and not sure how this was going to go. So we just worked with her, and she kind of followed along. By the end of the season, she was talking, and we were like, we didn't know she talked.
Right.
And so we're like, oh my goodness. So
You
it's
might
just
you might
she
talk.
built that
Yeah.
confidence, and it's now been coming
Right.
out for years. So it's amazing.
Well,
All
when you're in
kinds
an
of things like that
inclusive
have happened.
Yeah, when you're in an inclusive culture too, and you're in that, you don't have this weird stigma. Even like, going to the gym, you may have this weird stigma of people watching you and judging and all this other stuff, or even trying sports. And you've eliminated that barrier. So now it's everybody's. Everybody comes there. Everybody has the same sort of culture, that same sense of support, and it makes it a lot
Yeah,
easier to
for sure.
want to
For sure.
participate, but also my gosh, the feeling that you get from helping
Yeah.
others in that
I
is
mean,
just
we
huge.
had, she ended up becoming a great friend of mine, but a woman that came out because she saw us we had a float in a parade, which was it was basically a pontoon boat being pulled with a truck that we all decorated and had our message on there. And she said she hadn't really been leaving the house since she got her disability. Later, she wasn't born with it, and she was in her late 30s. And she said she was just embarrassed that she was losing mobility and really didn't want to go out. But she was like, well, I'll just go to this parade. So then she saw the parade and saw the message, and then decided, all right, well, I can go out to one thing that they do. And then she did another thing, and she kept coming out. And then she just got enough confidence that she went to the division of vocational rehab and worked with them. And then she got her master's in social work. And after finishing her master's, she was working as a counselor, helping people that were dealing with alcohol issues. And so
Mm.
she went from being home to helping others. And it's just amazing, that transition, that it started with recreation. So we
Yeah.
never know where these things are going to go, and how it's going to affect somebody's life. I mean,
Yeah.
when I first started and as a volunteer, I came out and we did a sailing event, and I think we were supposed to have 3 people show up, and 2 didn't come. We had 1, and I had like 3 volunteers and a sailboat that we had brought up and yada yada. And I was like, wow, it's really too bad that we only had 1 person. And our founder, David Jones, said to me, you know what? You don't know that, what effect that had on that person's life. And
Mhm.
the week later, I got this really long email from this person of how much that meant to her and, what effect it had on her. So you just never know how we're going to affect people's lives. So it's
And it's
powerful.
it is, and people remember they remember the experiences. Again, these are the people that you're serving in that regard. But even if you think about it this way too, we are exposed to every single day. You're exposed to negativity, right? People are exposed to
Yes.
that. It's this constant world of here's what's going wrong. I mean, it hasn't changed, right? It's just different story, different
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Well, as a society, we can be, and this is the whole point of this podcast is how do we focus in on, how do we learn about these opportunities to be a part of the solution and not the problem? Because they're talking about the problem, which a lot of, the media companies are doing it. They talk about the problems because problems generate attraction and everything
Right.
else, but they're
Hmm.
not the solution. So, if you have an extra, it seems to me it's like, okay, hey, if you were looking to feel better and there's no other better way
Oh,
to
without a doubt.
release.
I had this
Yeah.
conversation with my brother recently, and my brother was like, "God, I feel like the world is getting meaner or whatever." Da, da, and I said, I kind of don't feel that way because we'll have some article or something that gets posted and I'll get people that call me and say, I saw this thing and I want to help. How do I help? I get people that call me out of the blue because they love what we're doing and they want to help in some way. So
Hmm.
so I said, it gives me faith in the world that there's really great people out there that want to make a difference and want this world to be better.
Yeah. Well, and it also gives you that sense of purpose, right? They go through life worrying, they focus in on what's my purpose, and they try to, this magical ball
Right.
that's going to tell them exactly what that purpose is going to be. And sometimes you just got to try things. Some things are going to work, some things aren't going to, some things you're going to like doing. Things you're not going to like doing that make you feel bad. But I mean, one of the best things and best ways to feel great is to not focus in on yourself, focus in on
Right.
how
For
do we help others,
sure.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, coming out and helping other people or just, making a difference, it's makes you feel good, like
Sure.
gives you that positive energy.
It's helping others is the most selfish thing you can do.
I know
if you
it's
think
true. It
if you
really
think
is.
about
It
it.
is because it makes you
Yeah.
feel good. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so this is, we look at opportunities. We think, okay, how do we feel good, right? We're going to go to the gym, maybe that'll make us feel good, or we're going to go to on a bike ride, or we're going to do these things. But we think about naturally. Sometimes we get into this rut where we think about how does this affect us and everything else, and you just focus in on yourself, and there's no other better feeling though to say how do I not worry about my gym schedule as much and focus in on how do I take part in these activities that are also going to make an impact on somebody's life for the rest of their life, and that's a
Right.
legacy. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is, it makes it, I know that when I started coming out, I just felt great. It was fun, and I met such wonderful people and just saw the positive impact. Our founder founded this organization. David Jones founded this organization. He was shot in a hunting accident in 1988, and they told his family he wasn't going to live. Well, he did live, and he used a wheelchair for a year, and then used a walker for a year. Went back to school, and he just saw that there was a need for an organization like this, so he founded this. And but that's what he always said, made him feel good that even though he has a traumatic brain injury, he was also helping other people. So
Yeah, and that's, I mean, you're looking for solutions, right? You're looking for opportunities to make the world a better place. And, listen, hey, if all we do is listen to the media, we're going to be all negative people. And
I know.
you are a subject of your environment, right? So, get into the new environment and get into the, figure out. And I think what's awesome is what you're doing with SportsAbility Alliance here is giving the people, giving the society the ability to be a part of that change, right?
Yep. I mean, that's the thing, because we want everybody to be part of it. It's not
Yeah.
just for people with disabilities or people without disabilities or whatever it may be. It's for everybody. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's I'm 100%. I'm in. I mean, I'm 100%. Supportive of everything you guys do, and I'm continuing to learn. Right? It's just it's a lot. It's you do so much. The organization does so much. There's so many different events, so many people you impact, and
well, I
and
think I think
yeah,
we all are continuing to learn, and I think that was a part of the positive lessons of the pandemic was, you know, how do we take this negative thing and make it positive, you know?
right.
And so we started like virtual classes, and we had, how do you do soccer from your house? And, we had a coach that would come on and try and do stuff without needing any special equipment. And we would have 2 or 3 virtual classes a week that people could sign up for from anywhere, and they're free. I mean, on our Facebook page, every Friday we started that at 11 o'clock we have a workout, and we partner with a group called Spirit Club, and they have 3 instructors on the screen. One does the standard exercise, one transfers from his wheelchair and does the seated exercise, and then a gentleman with autism does the advanced exercise. So what I love about that is 2 of the 3 instructors have a disability, but they, showing how everybody can be a leader. And anybody can do this exercise. It's live at 11 o'clock on Fridays. So if you want to type in a comment like, oh, what are you doing about this? You can. But that video is up all week, so people can access it anytime and work out whenever they want. But we learned these things during COVID. Like, what were some other things? What are things we could do? And we kept trying to brainstorm, like, how can we reach people? And some of the things that we started doing because of the pandemic, we reached people that never knew we existed. And so we're like, well, let's keep doing that. That's, that was positive. Let's keep those things. So,
Yeah, even I know you're doing the physical, all the physical events and the opportunities here in Florida, but anybody from anywhere at this point, right? It's
yes.
Yeah, anybody can participate.
I've had people call, like, message me from Ireland that they love what we're doing, and they're doing stuff from, they're doing our stuff in Ireland, so, it's all over the place. It's really neat. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's and that accessibility, that accessibility piece to everything that you're doing is huge. I mean, that's that especially in today's world too, where some people might not feel necessarily comfortable going out quite yet, but they need to be they need to do something, right? We're human beings. One of the definitions of life is like movement or something.
Well,
So
yeah,
it's
and
like,
that was the thing with the virtual reality, was that park is open 24 hours a day. So if you're home and you're feeling like, I'm feeling kind of blah, you can just go in there. And there's a place on our website that walks people through. There's videos and stuff that shows, this is how you set up an account, and this is how you create your little avatar, and, walks you through it to make it simple. And, so that was our goal, was that people can go in 24 hours a day and not feel so isolated, because people are home and feeling isolated a lot of times. And,
yeah.
that was true before the pandemic, but after the pandemic got even worse. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just think it's such a huge huge aspect to be able to. You're changing with the times. I think that's the one thing that we learned from the pandemic too, is that the organizations that didn't change their accessibility. I think that's the key thing, is because it was more about more because people being at home and everything else. I mean, you had to change you as an organization how you delivered that communication or that service. So that's just you've really come a long way. You've changed that, right? You've paid attention. Here's our challenge, and you very quickly.
Well, luckily, when I had the association management company, I was managing 2 different technology associations, so got to be friends with a lot of people that own technology companies. And we joke that you can't be friends with any of the people on the board, with any of us, without volunteering in some way. So my technology resources have been a real asset and resource for us. So all my buddies that I met in the technology world. So
yeah, that's awesome. So I think, Lori, I could talk to you forever, a little bit further about getting into, specific stories and everything else. But I think, for today's interview, I think, what would be helpful, I think, is just understanding, two ways, I guess, the ways to support the organization, obviously through, volunteering, donating, what ways in which, how can somebody listening to this, which again, if you're listening to Lori and you're not excited about this, then I don't know. But how can somebody support you?
Yeah, I think that probably the best way to get started is to come to our website, sportsability.org, and you can learn about our programs on the website. We've got videos on all kinds of things. We've got a YouTube channel for the same thing. But on our website, if you want to donate, they can do it right from the website. You can learn about the different things that we've got going on at that time. But that's a great way, or any of our social media. If you go to our YouTube channel, you could see all kinds of different things that we've got happening, and just background on things. So, and if you have specific questions, feel free to just email us, info@sportsability.org. We're happy to get back to you. I've got a great board that are wonderful volunteers, and they also help with that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Looking forward to meeting some of the people that are watching this.
Yeah. Well, the missions that made them is where our goal here is to get these stories out, right? Get to hear there's so much, again, I said in the beginning is, we live in a world surrounded where negativity is constantly thrown at us. This has been throughout history. But it seems more today because we have more access to that information, right? It just didn't come. The bad news didn't just come through a newspaper,
right?
Or the television or the radio. Now it's, every time you pick up your phone, even recently, I saw the news part of my phone, like when did the home screen or the kind of overview screen. I finally disabled that because every time I would look at it, I'm like, okay, I just feel terrible after looking at it. But
yeah, I think you need to take some control. That's true. Take some control over the feed, constant that's coming at you.
Yeah, because again, it's these are businesses, right? The biggest thing that we live in this world where they're businesses, so their goal is to attract attention, and sometimes you don't hear about these great stories. We don't hear about these solutions, these opportunities, on all the great work that organizations such as SportsAbility Alliance is doing, and it's so I think the movement I see and the opportunity for the listeners here is to take action. I'll have links in the below the video here, or a podcast if you're listening to it here, wherever that is, right? All over. We'll make sure we have links out to the SportsAbility Alliance, all their events, their Facebook, their YouTube, everything that Lori had shared. We'll provide some links here so you have direct access to that. But, the best way to do too is, I always say is, hey, start by donating, right? You participate for sure too, but, what a better feeling to know that where your dollars go is, you really, again, it is the most selfish thing you can do is to donate to an organization like this, because the feeling that you get and what they're actually doing with it, you can know where, that it's directly impacting their abilities to serve more people and, change lives in the process, which is just awesome. So any other words, Lori,
I really appreciate this opportunity. It's been great having this conversation with you and getting to talk a little bit more about what we do. So thank you. And thank you to everybody listening.
Yeah, we'll have you back on too, definitely, to share some other stories that you have, kind of dive in a little bit deeper, right, into some new things that are happening, changes that are happening, all of that. I can't wait to just keep hearing how the story evolves at SportsAbility Alliance. So
that'd be great. That would be great. Thank you, Jason.
Can't thank you enough for joining on. And remember, for everybody listening, to wrap up here, you have the ability to be a part of the solution and not the problem. The only way to become part of that solution, though, is to take action. And I urge you to take action today. Support your SportsAbility Alliance. Again, we'll have the links here that you can check out. You can participate. But the only way to be a part of that solution is to take action. So I urge you to do that. And with that said, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.